professor failed me, so I made his daughter name her baby after me. I was one semester away from graduating with my teaching degree when Professor Warner decided to make my life hell. He wasn't just strict, he was vindictive. Every paper I turned in came back with a D or F, covered in red ink that said things like amateur work or embarrassingly basic analysis. I stayed after class one day and asked what I was doing wrong. He barely looked up from his desk when he said, "Some people just aren't cut out for academia. Maybe try something less intellectually demanding." I was furious. I had a 3.8 GPA and recommendations from every other professor in the department, but without passing his required senior seminar, I couldn't graduate. I went to the department head with samples of my work. She reviewed everything and agreed his grading seemed overly harsh. But Professor Warner had tenure. The most they could do was let me retake the class next semester with a different professor. The problem was I couldn't afford another semester. I was working 2 jobs just to cover tuition. My scholarships would expire. One failed class was about to destroy everything I'd worked for. That's when I ran into his daughter Olivia at the campus coffee shop where I worked. She was very pregnant and looked exhausted. When I brought her drink over, she burst into tears. "I'm sorry," she sniffled. "Pregnancy hormones, plus my dad's being impossible about the baby's name. He's threatening to cut me off if I don't name her after my late mom Ruth." I remembered seeing Professor Warner's wife's obituary years ago. He'd never remarried. "You don't want to name her Ruth?" I asked carefully. "God, no. Mom hated that name. She went by Ruby, but Dad's obsessed with tradition. He's already told the whole family the baby will be named Ruth." Over the next few weeks, Olivia became a regular at the coffee shop. She'd come in during my shifts and vent about her dad's controlling behavior, how he micromanaged her whole pregnancy, how he had to approve every baby item she registered for. "Sometimes I think he forgets I'm an adult with my own life," she sighed one day. "He still treats me like I'm 12. I nodded sympathetically while refilling her decaf. My dad was like that too. Always had to control everything. But you know what finally made him back off? When I started making my own choices anyway. Showed him he couldn't bully me anymore. She was quiet for a moment. "You're right. I need to stand up to him." 2 days later, Olivia went into labor. Professor Warner canceled class to be at the hospital. When he returned the next day, he was livid. "My own daughter betrayed me," he ranted to another professor in the hallway. "Named the baby Aria instead of Ruth. Says she won't change it no matter what I say." He was so distracted by the name drama, he barely looked at our final papers. I got a C, just enough to pass. When I went to thank Olivia at the coffee shop later, she was there with baby Aria. "I've never seen him so mad," she laughed. "But you were right. Once I showed him he couldn't control me, he finally backed down. Even started calling her Aria yesterday." I smiled as I made her usual decaf. "Aria's a beautiful name. How'd you choose it?" "Oh, it was perfect timing actually. The day I went into labor, I was reading this article about musical terms. Aria means a solo melody, one voice standing out from the rest. Made me think about finding my own voice, you know? That's really beautiful," I said, not mentioning that Aria was also my middle name, the one listed on all my papers that her father had failed. I graduated that spring and got a teaching job at a great school.